This is the story of Malaysia's fourth richest man, Jeffrey Cheah, the man behind Sunway. He successfully transformed this huge piece of Selangor's tin mining wasteland into today's Sunway City. Sunway Pyramid, Sunway University, Sunway Lagoon. All these prime assets are all created in one generation by Jeffrey Cheah. Hey guys, it's HY, your investing friend. Welcome to the 7th episode of Malaysia Corporate History Series, where we cover important businesses and individuals that shape Malaysia economy today. Today, we are going to dive into the untold story of Jeffrey Cheah and Sunway Group. And this video is supported by Moomoo Malaysia. More on this later. Jeffrey Cheah was born in 1945, right before the World War II ended. He grew up in Pusing Perak, a small tin mining town 30 minutes away from Ipoh. Tin mining was once the biggest business in Malaysia during the early 19th century, supplying more than 50% of the world's tin. When Jeffrey Cheah was young, tin mining was still a very big business in Perak. 20% of Malaysia export come from tin mining. Jeffrey Cheah has 10 siblings and he's the 6th koko. His father, Chafa, was a lorry driver when he was young. To feed the growing family, Chafa joined the tin mining industry and became a tin miner. He was then promoted to become a tin mining manager. Then Chafa started his own tin mining business, but the business went bankrupt after 3 years. With the recovery of tin prices, his father's business eventually recovered and the family became rich. So Jeffrey Cheah, he grew up in this kind of environment, observing the rise and fall of tin mining industry in Pusing Perak. Understanding that education is key and Chafa business was doing great at that time, he sent Jeffrey Cheah to Melbourne, Australia to study accounting at Footscray Institute of Technology, which is now known as Victoria University. In 1970, Jeffrey Cheah came back to Malaysia with an accounting degree and started working as an accountant in Asia Motor Assembly Plant, one of the biggest assembly plant in Malaysia that time. After working for 3 years, Jeffrey Cheah realized that he don't like to work for other people. He wanted to become his own boss. So he left Asia Motor and started his own business. In 1974, Jeffrey Cheah heard news that the tin mining leasehold land held by many British companies in Malaysia were ending soon. And it's up to Malaysian government to decide whether to renew for the foreign companies. Jeffrey Cheah took advantage of this uncertainty in the market and negotiated with a British company, Associated Mines. He spent 100,000 ringgit to buy a mining land in Selangor with only 3 years mining lease left. In that 3 years, he set up Sungei Enterprise, squeezed out everything from the land, not just mining the remaining tin. He also entered the quarrying business to extract out the sand, manganese and clay underneath the land and process it into industrial and building materials that were in high demand. Because Malaysia was growing super fast at that time, that was how Jeffrey Cheah made his first bucket of gold. He then expanded Sungei Enterprise from tin mining and quarrying business into manufacturing of construction materials, leasing of construction equipment, and property development business. All this growth happened within 10 years, involving organic growth and some acquisitions. In 1984, Jeffrey Cheah combined 3 of his businesses, quarrying, construction materials, and construction equipment leasing, into Sungei Holding and listed it on Kuala Lumpur Stock Exchange with a combined revenue of 26 million ringgit and a profit before tax of 8 million ringgit. The IPO was oversubscribed by almost 72 times. Do you know now you can apply IPO directly in Moomoo app? This is how you can capture the full growth of a promising business from the first day. Like the most recent Sunway Healthcare IPO, 38% on first day. Or like Oriental Kopi that IPO at 44 cents and shoot up to 80 cents on the first day and now it's trading at 1 ringgit plus. Moving forward, there are many more interesting IPO coming soon, like Zeus Coffee, Skychip, so don't wait until it's too late. Just open your Moomoo app, select IPO, click subscribe, key in the number of units that you want, submit, then done. You have successfully applied for the company's IPO. Then see you lucky or not to get the IPO ballot. In the early 1980s, US was experiencing stagflation, so the US Federal Reserve increased interest rate from 9.5% to 21.5%, known as the Volcker Shock. The US economy crashed badly, but US dollar strengthened after the increased interest rate. Most commodities are priced in US dollars, so the commodities become more expensive for the whole world. Demand starts to drop, and the whole world follow US enter global recession. Malaysia, that rely heavily on commodities, suffered badly. Jeffrey Cheah business, tin mining, quarrying, leasing, all took a big hit. because he took on a lot of debt to run his businesses. Sungei Way reported its first net loss of 18.6 million ringgit in 1987 because of bad debt and losses from construction slump. Sungei Way announced right issue to raise 24.6 million ringgit in 1986. Jeffrey Cheah also provided all the bankers with personal guarantee to survive the recession. Because of this experience, Jeffrey Cheah knew that he cannot rely on commodities anymore. That's when he came up with the idea of Sunway City, and there's no room to fail. Jeffrey Cheah looked at the abandoned lands that were destroyed by tin mining activities, high acidity, many big holes here and there, low nutrients, and too sandy to build properties on top. Whenever there's heavy rain, it will even cause flooding to that surrounding area. Nevertheless, Jeffrey Cheah doubled down on his Sunway City idea. He pitched his vision to Selangor government. He wanted to transform and revive this wasteland into a huge township. So he requested Selangor government to alienate 800 acres of abandoned land for this Sunway City project. And he submitted a bid for these huge lands with 1 ringgit per square feet. Surprisingly, Selangor government agreed with the idea because those lands were wastelands and requires huge investment before properties can be built on top. So the Selangor government sold the land to Jeffrey Cheah at 1 ringgit per square feet for a total of 800 acres of land. Based on our calculation, the land cost was around 35 million ringgit in the 1980s. In 1985, during the recession, Jeffrey Cheah drew a master plan for Sunway City. The first problem that he needed to solve was the mining wasteland. The development team brought in earthworm into the wasteland, let them correct the wasteland that are too soft to plant trees on top. Jeffrey Cheah then invested heavily in importing advanced earth filling and rehabilitation technology from other countries to pump out water, stabilize the soil, and level the base. Once the land problem is settled, the development team worked with Malaysian Institute of Architects to host a competition for designers and architects to submit their ideas for Sunway City. In the end, they collected over 50 ideas, and an architect team from Hawaii won the competition. Doing all this burned a lot of money even before Sunway can start developing the project. So at the beginning stage, Sunway City image is not like today, very premium, very atas, very young. At one point, Mahathir even asked Jeffrey Cheah why he kept building these cheap looking houses. And Jeffrey Cheah says he just needs to do it because he needs the money to fund his vision. This reminded us that in this world, it's not enough to just have dream. You need to be realistic and pragmatic. No money, no talk. Funding your vision means you need to maximize every ringgit that you have. Which is exactly how I use Moomoo Malaysia. Whenever I have extra cash, I don't just leave it in the bank. I will put into Moomoo CashPlus. Because right now, Moomoo is offering 6% return for 30 days for up to 30,000 ringgit. Moomoo is also my go-to platform when investing overseas. The first thing that I always do is to convert my ringgit into US dollar or Singapore dollar in the app. Because unlike Wise that limits you at 20,000 ringgit, Moomoo let us convert a larger amount. Plus, they give you 180 days zero commission on US, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Singapore, or China A markets. So you can invest easily in US ETF like S&P 500 or VT without worrying about high fees. Moomoo is giving 2,900 ringgit exclusive rewards to our viewers. Just use my special deposit code. Do it, what ah? Click the link in my description to claim this exclusive deal. Alright, back to how Jeffrey Cheah used his fund to build this Sunway master plan. The master plan of Sunway City is called Resort Living Within the City. And to make this happen, Jeffrey Cheah need to make Sunway City a destination with retail, education, and leisure, with these three elements making Sunway City a self-sustaining township. Jeffrey Cheah know that no one would want to come to this huge piece of wasteland, so there needs to be something to attract people to come to Sunway City. And that something was establishing Sunway College in 1987, Sunway Lagoon in 1992, and Sunway Pyramid in 1997. In 1987, Jeffrey Cheah started Sunway College with 67 students at a rented shop lot. Sunway College was the first to offer twinning program model in Malaysia. This is for Sunway College to differentiate itself, let Malaysian students study overseas at a lower cost. Many parents, they love seeing this and started to send their children to Sunway College. A new 22 acres campus was fully built, taking in over 3,500 students. With steady stream of students and young adults flowing into Sunway City, Jeffrey Cheah built onto the success of twinning program to bringing in Monash University into Malaysia in 1998. More properties catering to students were built. communities started to form around the city. Retail also started to boom. Jeffrey Cheah continued the momentum, establishing Sunway Lagoon in 1992, utilizing the big hole left over from abandoned Wasteland and turned it into a water theme park. He hired Nelson Yong, the architect for his own house, to design and build the blueprint for Sunway Lagoon, bringing in leisure and entertainment element into Sunway City. Jeffrey Cheah once shared that he was offered casino license twice in his lifetime, but he rejected the offer because he don't want any gambling element in his township. This shows his strong business principles in managing his businesses. To complete the puzzle, Jeffrey Cheah wanted a shopping mall sitting in the middle of Sunway City, and he don't want another shopping mall. The shopping mall must stand out and differentiate itself, taking inspiration from Egypt's pyramid. In 1994, Jeffrey Cheah listed his second company on Bursa, Sunway Building Technology Berhad, that provide construction service and supply construction materials. In 1996, after the success of Sunway College and Sunway Lagoon, property development business in Sunway City flourished. Jeffrey Cheah IPO'd his third company on Bursa, Sunway City Berhad, the property arm of his Sunway Group. In 1997, the final piece of Sunway City was completed. Sunway Pyramid, Malaysia's first theme mall, was opened to public. If you see the mall, you will remember it because it is totally different from all the malls at that time. Sungai Wang Plaza, Subang Parade, Wan Utama, all cannot compare. Even until today, Sunway Pyramid still stands out. One side story, the Sphinx in front of Sunway Pyramid received many complaints, including from Mahathir, because it triggers religious concern. That's why it's changed to lion head that we see today. At the same year, Jeffrey Cheah listed his fourth company onto Bursa, Sungei Way Construction. Just to recap, Jeffrey Cheah now have 4 companies listed on Bursa. Sungei Way Holdings, the parent group company holding other listed Sunway companies with quarry, mining and leasing business on the side. Sunway City, the property development arm. Sunway Building Technology, the construction material arm. Sungei Way Construction, the construction service arm. With the completion of Sunway College, Sunway Lagoon and Sunway Pyramid, Sunway City started to flourish, but it didn't last long because the Asian financial crisis hit in 1998. When the Asian financial crisis hit, Malaysia ringgit depreciated 80% to 4 ringgit 88 cents per US dollar. Hot money suddenly left Malaysia. Sungei Way Holdings share price crashed from 4 ringgit 80 cents to 1 ringgit and 20 cents. Sunway Group has around 110 million ringgit debt in US dollar. The cost to service this loan almost doubled. And the most scary thing was, many of their customers also faced the same cash flow issue. They don't have money to pay Jeffrey Cheah, so all the Sunway group of companies cannot collect back their money and run out of cash. Banks were knocking on his door. Sunway was very close to bankrupt, so Jeffrey Cheah took 4 bold actions. Number 1, loan restructuring with his personal guarantees. He talked to all his bankers and creditors personally. Tell them that he will pay the money with interest. He will not run away. The only request was to convert the short-term loan into long-term bonds so he can buy time to pay off the loans. Number 2, sell assets for cash. Now that Jeffrey Cheah has more time, he still needs cash to pay off the loans. So he started selling assets to raise cash. The first thing he sold was his cashcow business, the profitable quarry business, to Pioneer International. In 1998, Sungei Way and Pioneer started a 50-50 JV, and Sungei Way sold 17 quarries and 19 asphalt plants to the JV for 180 million ringgit cash. But then the Asian financial crisis got worse and the JV kept losing money. Eventually, Jeffrey Cheah sold the remaining 50% for 28 million ringgit cash. In 1999, Jeffrey Cheah still don't have enough money to keep the business alive, so he was forced to ask Singapore Sovereign Wealth Fund (GIC) for money. Instead of selling his entire company at a massive discount during a crisis, he only sold 48% of Sunway Pyramid and 25% of Sunway City for 362 million ringgit cash. All are minority stake and Jeffrey Cheah still remains in control. Having GIC as shareholders and backups also helped give bankers confidence to trust Jeffrey Cheah again. By 2001, the economy was recovering, but Sunway was still heavily in debt and cash poor. Here comes Jeffrey Cheah's smartest move to rescue Sunway City. He launched Malaysia's first ever property asset-backed securitization (ABS). This is also the first class that all corporate finance people need to study. Basically, ABS is a magic in finance world. They let grade C company to issue grade A bond. And here's how Jeffrey Cheah did it. Step 1, Jeffrey Cheah created a shell company. We call it SPV. Then Sunway City sold all these assets to this SPV for 892 million ringgit cash. Then through a sales and leaseback agreement, even if Sunway Group go bankrupt tomorrow, the banks cannot touch these properties because the legal owner of the rental income of these properties is owned by the SPV. Step 2, risk segmentation and debt tranching. Jeffrey Cheah then used this SPV to issue 916.2 million ringgit bond. But this bond is sliced into many layers. 450 million ringgit senior tranche bond with a lower risk and 466.2 million ringgit junior tranche bond with higher risk. If anything happened to the assets, the junior tranche will be the first to take the loss and the senior tranche will remain safe. This senior tranche bond is what allows Sunway City to issue grade A bond with a lower interest rate. From this exercise, Sunway City successfully raised 450 million ringgit cash from the market and they immediately paid off 348 million ringgit of their loan, saving the company. With the success of Sunway City ABS financial magic, Jeffrey Cheah repeated the same thing with Sungei and Sungei Construction. In short, Jeffrey Cheah took 4 bold actions to survive the Asian financial crisis. Number 1, loan restructuring with personal guarantee. Number 2, sold their cashcow quarry business to raise cash. Number 3, sold part of Sunway Pyramid and Sunway City to Singapore GIC for cash injection. And number 4, do financial magic with ABS to monetize their future cash flow from their assets. No help from government, no haircut from banks that lend them money, but they survived the Asian financial crisis and learned their lesson to never over-leverage. Even with all the bad news during Asian financial crisis, Jeffrey Cheah didn't stop expanding Sunway City. In 1999, he added Sunway Medical Center into portfolio, and he renamed Sungei Holdings into Sunway Holdings, and Sungei Construction into Sunway Construction to signal a new beginning. After the Asian financial crisis from 2000 to 2010, Jeffrey Cheah undertook many corporate restructuring under his group of companies. In 2003, Jeffrey Cheah Sunway Building Technology to Lim family, and the company was renamed as Dolomite Berhad. He also listed another company, Sunway Infrastructure, after the company got Kajang Silk Highway project. In 2004, Sunway delisted Sunway Construction. He also opened Lost World of Tambun in Perak, planning to play the same playbook in Perak. In 2007, Jeffrey Cheah completed the construction of Sunway Carnival Mall in Penang. In 2008, Jeffrey Cheah exited Sunway Infrastructure and sold his shareholding to Aslan Hashim. In 2010, with all the ABS settled, Sunway listed all these property assets as Sunway REIT. At the end of 2010, Jeffrey Cheah's Sunway business empire didn't sweat at all during the great financial crisis because they already cleaned up the mess after Asian financial crisis. And the remaining listed Sunway companies are Sunway Holdings, Sunway City, and Sunway REIT. And Jeffrey Cheah is ready to bring his business empire to another level. In 2011, this is the biggest year for Jeffrey Cheah and Sunway. 2 big changes. Jeffrey Cheah will merge Sunway City and Sunway Holdings into one company, Sunway Berhad as we know today. This was because having 2 separated listed entities also meant that the balance sheets were separated. In the 2010 era, Malaysia was investing heavily into major infra projects. Sunway needed a bigger balance sheet to bid for these projects and compete at the top level. Right after the merger, Jeffrey Cheah led the new entity Sunway Berhad to JV with Khazanah to expand into Johor, acquiring 691 acres of Medini Iskandar for 745 million ringgit, the biggest investment after Sunway City. Jeffrey Cheah wanted to repeat his successful integrated township formula into Johor, bringing Sunway branded homes, shopping mall, retail, education into Johor. Remember, this was when 1 Singapore dollar equals to 2 ringgit and 40 cents. In 2013, Sunway hit 1 billion annual net profit for the first time. At that current stage, they have a few presence in KL, mainland Penang, Iskandar City, Johor, and Ipoh, Perak. In 2015, Sunway released Sunway Construction again to unlock value for their shareholders, because Sunway Construction has grown to become the second biggest construction player at that time. At the same year, 2015, the property bubble in Malaysia has popped after Malaysia government increased RPGT tax to 30% if sold within 3 years, and Bank Negara banned developer interest-bearing scheme. So Sunway expansion into Johor also slowed down. With the Johor growth slowing down, Jeffrey Cheah switched his focus into healthcare. In 2016 to 2017, Malaysia ringgit weakened to 4 ringgit and 50 cents per US dollar because of one MTB scandal. Weaker ringgit gave a strong boost to medical tourism. Foreign patients started flowing into Malaysia. Jeffrey Cheah also noticed that Malaysia will soon be an aging society, with the first generation of Sunway home buyers now demanding for more healthcare services. So Jeffrey Cheah led Sunway Group to heavily invest into healthcare industry. He announced a bold 1 billion ringgit expansion plan to build 6 brand new hospitals across the country. And for the next few years, Sunway executed it perfectly. In 2019, they opened the second Sunway Medical Center in Sunway Velocity, 20 years after the first Sunway Medical Center was opened in Sunway City. In 2021, Sunway received 750 million ringgit investment from Singapore GIC, taking a 16% shareholding in Sunway Healthcare Group. In 2022, the third Sunway Medical Center was opened in Penang. This Penang Medical Center break even in just 3 months after opening. In 2024, Sunway opened their fourth medical center in Kota Damansara. And few months later in 2025, their fifth medical center was opened in Ipoh. So in 7 years, Sunway increased their hospitals from 1 to 5 hospitals across Malaysia, maximizing advantage of its communities built in all its townships. In 2026, Sunway listed its Sunway Healthcare Group on Bursa. The market loved this stock so much, it is trading close to 100 times PE. This business alone is worth 22 billion ringgit, pushing Sunway Healthcare to be included in the KLCI, being one of the top 30 companies in Malaysia. Sunway plans to build 3 more medical centers from 2039 to 2032 in Seremban, Iskandar Puteri, and Putrajaya. Fast forward to today, in 2025, Sunway announced its largest acquisition ever, a 2.3 billion ringgit deal to acquire MCL land in Singapore, expanding their footprints into Singapore. In 2026, Sunway announced a 11 billion ringgit takeover offer to take over IJM. Sunway shareholders cheered the acquisition, but ultimately, with the biggest shareholders of IJM, EPF, KWAP and PNB rejecting the offer, the deal didn't go through. This shows Sunway's ambition to grow. All in all, it seems like Sunway business empire will continue to last. Jeffrey Cheah has passed on his leadership roles to his children, Serena Cheah being the deputy chairman of Sunway Group, mainly leading the REIT and property arm, Evan Cheah being the deputy president of Sunway Group, mainly leading digital, strategic and construction arm, Adrian Cheah mainly leading Sunway REIT business. Jeffrey Cheah has also transferred his entire equity ownership in the non-profit education group into Jeffrey Cheah Foundation in 2010. In 2025, Jeffrey Cheah committed another 500 million ringgit over the next 5 years to create one of Malaysia's largest education endowments so that the education venture will last beyond his lifetime. Looking back at Jeffrey Cheah's incredible journey, from a young boy in Pusing Perak to someone who transformed millions of Malaysians' lives. That's all for today's Malaysia Corporate History Series. And a huge shout out to Moomoo Malaysia for making this episode possible. If you learned something new today, hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. And let us know which Malaysia business do you want us to cover next. I'm HY, your investing friend. Stay safe and stay strong investing. I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!